Evening, folks. Brian here, Geomagnetic Earthwatch on Friday, January 13, 2023 on our planet. I hope you are well. However, I understand that some of you may not be very well. Some of you may have a ongoing headache, maybe some dizziness, vertigo, tinnitus. Maybe you have a frontal lobe compression or tension headache. Others may be a brief spiking pain in the temporal region, maybe behind your eyes, etc. That is because, once again, we've had a long duration M-class flaring starting at about 3 hours ago. Maybe a bit sooner because it started with an upper level C-class flare. Excuse me. So maybe 3.5 hours ago, if you started feeling the effects, this was it. Now, I've said in the past that a longer duration CME can be more detrimental than, say, for example, a shorter duration at a higher level than this M3.99, almost an M4 flare previously. And again, a longer duration M-class flare off of the northeastern limb of our sun, this guy right here. Now, so far we've been lucky so far. We've been biting the bullet. Speaking of the bullet, I'll show you a pictorial example shortly. We've been lucky that these M-class and X-class flares have been shooting off of the limb, east limb of the sun. And so far, as they come into Earth-facing view, they have not progressed into a higher level M-class or X-class Earth-facing flaring. So far. However, we have another 3 years getting through this sunspot maximum. Now, to give you a different idea, a different visualization, so try and imagine, if you will, this firearm is our sun. Now, the muzzle flash, when being discharged, is the actual solar flaring itself, and in this case, a long duration M-class flare lasting approximately 60 minutes. So the muzzle flash is the actual flare, and the X-ray is taking only 8 minutes to reach the Earth. Now, if there is an accompanying CME coronal mass ejection, the gas being expelled from the barrel of the gun or the sun, the flare, is the CME coronal mass ejection containing billions of tons of the highly charged particles. In this case, this being the sun, and our flare took off from the northeastern limb of the sun, if there's an associated CME, it may only give us a side swipe. This expelling gas from the gun actually could be representative as a flare on the backside of the sun, CME. So anyway, when a flare goes off, whether it's brief or long term, that is the muzzle flash that we see. This is what we've been feeling starting about 3.5 hours ago. This time, we're lucky, we're not going to get the bullet. And it's accompanying release of gas. I hope you understood that one. There's one thing to keep in mind as we're getting into a more active sun over the next 3 years. And keep in mind, our protective magnetosphere is destabilizing and continuing to weaken. We need to keep the effects of these flares in mind when we're driving our vehicle, operating any equipment, involved in any dangerous work processes, working at heights, etc. sudden bouts of dizziness and vertigo, headaches. If it's more of an Earth-facing X-class flare, some people, it's going to knock them off their feet, quite literally. Those who are already in a weakened state, I'm not just talking medically, it's just the way some people are. They can't handle it. Eventually, however, it's going to be hitting all of us as our sun becomes more active at the same time that our protective magnetosphere continues to drop its shields. Just like on Starship Enterprise, each time it gets hit with a Klingon photon torpedo, it breaks down the shields more and more and more. Weakening shields, more Klingon photon torpedoes. Eventually, it's just going to break it up. Anyway, let's not go there right now. Now, this is a graph of our sunspot count, our solar cycles. The timing of a grand solar minimum is after 3 consecutive declining solar cycles. Solar cycle 22, the subsequent cycle 23, decreasing, our last cycle 24, decreasing, and our current solar cycle 25, which started in December 2019. Now, I don't get into arguments with anybody about when this is going to peak out. Everybody has their own opinion. And really, that's all it is. NASA and NOAA, for example, want to mislead the public, saying this is going to be much higher. It could be. Let's also keep in mind the average length of a solar cycle is 11 years between sunspot minimum and sunspot minimum. However, very few have been as long as 13.5 years, and 1 or 2 have been as short as 9 years. The expected decline tail end of this current solar cycle is 2030. However, it could suddenly drop off in 2 to 3 years to 2028. No one knows. All we know right now is our sun is approaching solar maximum. We have another approximately 3 years to expect of this. And again, these flarings are only just coming off the limb of the sun. We can expect more. And more of these more than annoying headaches, dizzy, vertigo, tinnitus, migraines. And I'm only speaking of the neurological effects, not the neuropsychological effects. I'll get into that again later on another video. I'm just curious how many over the past 3 hours have had any level of discomfort in their head, pressure, where that pressure was, where that discomfort headache was it frontal lobe? Was it above the eyes, behind the eyes? Most likely. Temporal, side of the head. Curiosity, folks. Anyway, I'll speak to you later.